I'm just going to say a few words about you from your bio, and then we will dive on in. You started in the culinary field as private chef, and your inauguration into restaurant-style cooking came later when you were a vegan vegetarian chef at Vans Warped Tour. That sounds exciting. You did 50 North American cities in 60 days. Sounds a little intense. And upon returning to LA, Chef James Berry continued to private chef and had the fortune of cooking for celebrities such as Tom Cruise, Mariska Hargitay, George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Sean Puffy Combs, Barbara Streisand, John Cusack. Some really great folks here. Not wanting to limit the audience of his healthy and tasty style of cooking, James started Wholesome To Go, a healthy, high-quality food delivery company. I remember us talking about trying to get kombucha delivered as part of all of that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And most recently, you evolved into the first functional food product, Pluck, which I'm so excited to have here. Pluck. And so we're going to dive into what this is. This is an all-purpose seasoning. It's the first of its kind. It's amazing. It's delicious. And guess what it's made from? Organ meat. Oh my gosh, I know. Chef James Berry also co-authored the recipes in Margaret Floyd's book, Eat Naked, and co-authored the follow-up cookbook, The Naked Foods Cookbook, and most recently co-authored recipes in Dr. Alejandro Junger's book, Clean 7. So you have just been busy, busy, busy. And yes, Maria, let's get healthy. So James, I've given a massive intro here. Welcome. We're so glad to see you again.
Great to see you, Hannah. Thanks so much for having me. It was great because we ran into each other at Expo West, and it had been a long time. But as we just said, we've known each other now. I mean, for what is this, 15
couple decades?
Years? I mean,
yeah. Exactly right. And I was saying earlier before you got on that just like when you live in this world of real food, of traditional food, of connecting people back to the source, you just end up evolving together, right? We grow together is one of my favorite phrases. And I love to see this evolution. So how did this evolution come about? Why organ meat? Why Pluck?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tied to being a father. I have 2 young kids, and as a parent, I just want to get the most nutrient dense foods into my kids, but I also want to get it really easily. Like I work hard, my days are long, and it's like when I do spend time with my kids and I do most of the cooking in the household. And when I do, I don't want any fuss. Like I just want us to be able to sit down and hang out and really be in a loving moment. And so once I identify, well, what are the most nutrient dense foods on the planet? It's like, well, it's organ meats. And then I identified there's really 3 big hurdles. We associate or think they're icky. We don't know how to cook them, or we don't know how to source them. And I know you can find like capsules, encapsulated organs, of course, but I'm a huge fan of eating our nutrition versus swallowing it. I think when we swallow through a capsule, we bypass our natural digestive process. And I always give the example of like salt, for example. If I put salt on your tongue, immediate communication of I either want more or less. If you swallow a salt tablet, you get a delayed response, maybe 20, 30 minutes later. You're like, I feel bloated. Why am I bloated? Oh, I got too much salt. So I really love that immediate communication because we're all bio-individual, and what you need is different than what I need. And the only way to truly intuitively tap into that is by eating it. And so big fan of eating nutrition. And then I kind of just connected the dots. I'm like, well, we already have the modern technique of freeze drying. We already are using this product in capsules. And for anyone that doesn't understand it, freeze dried organ meats are truly, it's just raw and then it's freeze dried. There's nothing else done to it. So it's very minimal impact to the nutritional viability of that whole food. And then it's, all the moisture is taken out. So it's very, very it's very concentrated. So I always tell people like, you can't equate like Pluck the seasoning or even a capsule of organ meats to a wet organ. When you freeze dry an organ, you lose almost like 80%. So it's extremely concentrated. Then that's where Pluck came from. I was and I'm happy to report my kids love it. They literally put it on everything. I mean, from popcorn to toast to vegetables to meat to fish to everything. There's not one thing they won't put it on. And what's kind of cool, it's gotten to the point, and I hope parents out there watching this will appreciate this. It's gotten to the point where my kids will eat something they normally wouldn't eat willingly as long as pluck is on it. So that's huge win. Like I had my daughter, she was always, we have a rule in our household where you get to choose which vegetable, but you either have to eat the one I prepared that night or we prepared that night, or you can eat cultured vegetables. So we always have cultured vegetables in our fridge. It's like you got to choose one or the other. And my youngest was always choosing the cultured veg. And I'm like, hey, how about tonight you eat the broccoli we made? And she's like, I just don't want it. I'll eat the cultured vegetables. I'm like, okay, but what do we got to do to make you eat the broccoli? Like, how about if I put more butter on it? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, how about if I put the butter and pluck on it? And she's like, okay, I'll eat it.
That's pretty awesome. And before we get too far away, because I know getting children to eat this is important, but adults too, is like, why are organ meats so important? I mean, you and I both know because we've been in this traditional foods world, but for a lot of folks, especially you being a vegan vegetarian chef, and now you're working with organ meats, talk a little bit about that nutrient density and how you arrived at that conclusion that organ meats are something everybody should be including.
Yeah, and I should preface, like, even though I was a vegan vegetarian chef, I was not vegan or vegetarian myself. I basically went to a school that specialized in nutritional cooking, and they also kind of bent a little bit towards vegan vegetarianism. But I specifically learned that because I saw it as that would be an advantage because most chefs don't know how to cook that way. So I have experimented with eating vegan and vegetarian, but it just didn't work. Yeah, I don't know.
It worked for me.
Yeah, I haven't met a person.
My body's like, give me the meat.
Yeah,
I need that.
I'm always telling people, like, I never want to take away someone's process around what they eat. I just want you to listen to your body so that whatever path you go down, if your body starts screaming, and how does it scream? Well, it screams with digestive distress. It screams with like skin issues, hair falling out, feeling bloated, any kind of chronic thing you see show up physically and even mentally, anything like that show up, that's your body saying, you know what, this isn't working. So that's all I ask is people just listen to your body.
1,000%. Because I think we've all gotten a bit too orthorexic. And what that word means is that we're adhering to the rules. And so regardless of the dietary, it could be keto, it could be paleo, it could be vegan, vegetarian. It doesn't matter. If you're adhering too much just to the rules and not listening to your body, then that's not serving you long term. Because like you said, and I love what you said about eating this, because you have this instant feedback loop that helps you understand, oh, is this something that's resonating with me? Is this something that doesn't work for me? And sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, because if we end up with gut dysbiosis and we start craving a bunch of sweets and different things, closing the feedback loop isn't just trusting what tastes good on your tongue, but it's listening, how does my body feel? If I eat those foods and now I've got brain fog, or I have a rash, or I have fatigue, that's your body saying, hey, there's some microbes in there that are causing you to consume foods that are actually detrimental to your health in this moment because you're out of balance. And so it's all about getting back into balance and finding the many, many pathways to that. And of course, cultured vegetables and fermentation is, to me, the gateway into understanding, really reconnecting that loop with our bodies and trusting that we have innate DNA wisdom that we've accumulated for hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of years, who knows, right? And so that means we already understand everything within ourselves if we allow ourselves to be open and listen to that information. So, and then of course it's reading information and getting information outside of ourselves that then we can piece everything together. But you know, we can't outthink evolution. I know we think we can, and we keep trying. The problem is that we don't evolve fast enough to process synthetic foods, to only get our food from vitamins and things like this. So I love the trajectory you're on here with Pluck. So tell me how this has been received. Is this so you mentioned the parents and the children. We know a lot of kids have a lot of gut dysbiosis. So what are you noticing when this starts to be included in the diet on a regular basis?
A lot. And I know I still have to answer the question of why organ meats too. So I'll try to keep the what we're seeing short and then go to the why. But what we're seeing is that kids immediately want it and crave it. And they don't want to stop. Like have had parents tell me that their kids cry when they run out of pluck. So to me, that's not only because it tastes good, but it truly is a testimony of like your kids, our kids, they need this nutrition. It's really important, no different than the salt on the tongue. The body knows what it needs. And once it gets it, it really does. It responds. And I see there's a question of like, does pluck help with iron? Well, absolutely, because that's why organ meats are extremely high in heme iron, which is the most bioavailable iron in a food. So it's extremely high in nutrients. And one of the things I like to point out, and this is something from Dr. Bill Schindler, who wrote a book called Eat Like a Human. So he's a archaeologist, and I think that's the word. Yeah, he studies humans, right? So anthropologist, maybe that's what it is, anthropologist. Mm-hmm. And so he's a professor of anthropology, and he points out that around 3 million years ago, our species were scavengers. So we were getting meat and other things, but we weren't the predators. So we were not killing the animal, and the animal that killed the animal was getting very specific parts of that animal. We were not. We were scavengers. Okay, just like a hyena or a vulture coming and picking at the meat as we could, right, to get it off that animal. It wasn't till 2.5 million years ago, so literally 0.5 million years it took us to finally then now become the predator, where we were able to create just a very rudimentary tool that allowed us to kill the animal. And then something really big changed right around that period. We got the blood, we got the organs, and we got the fat. 3 things that we were not getting a lot of 3 million years ago. And those 3 things completely put us on the trajectory of making it so that you and I could talk right now on these, handheld devices that are basically more powerful than computers from the 1980s, right? So it's put us to where we are now. It increased our brain size, which then allowed us to talk. We were able to create more tools. We got fire around that time. So huge growth. And it happened because we got all the nutrients that are in the fat, the blood, and the organs. And so I really do look at organ meats as a very necessary thing. It's what got us to where we are now. And clearly muscle meat wasn't enough because we were eating it then. So for my money, I look at the whole animal. And if we're only focusing on one part of that animal, then I feel like we're missing out on all the other parts that animal can provide. So I really try to look at it not just because when we talk about what is organs, we're not just talking about liver. And I think a lot of people default to that. But ultimately what organ meat, or offal is another name, OFFAL, is really, it's truly about every part of the animal except the muscle and the bone. So it includes the bone marrow, but not the bone. Really important. So I'm a huge proponent of whole animal. So if we were a tribe and we killed one animal as a tribe of, let's just say 20 people, not many people are going to get the liver because there's only one liver. And the people that got it were the people that needed it, like the pregnant women, the sick kids, or the elderly that were sick. And they got that because they knew that if you're getting the most nutrient-dense part of the animal, it's going to support your own health. There's another kind of concept that it's called like supports like. So if you eat liver, it supports your liver. If you eat heart, it supports your heart. And it's because every one of those organs or parts of that animal contain all the nutrients made by Mother Nature that are for those parts of your body. So really key to get those nutrients. And so you will hear, like, pluck has 5 organs, for example. It has liver, heart, kidney, spleen, and pancreas. But my hope is to eventually provide even more of the whole animal down the road, where I can truly make getting whole animal nutrition as easy and deliciously as possible.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to this preview here on YouTube. If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, along with other useful resources such as show notes, links, and special offers, we'd love to extend an invitation for you to join our Kombucha Camp Plus Bubbles with Benefits member rewards program. By becoming a member, you'll earn bubbles with every Kombucha Camp purchase for free products, and that's not all. We also offer birthday Booch Day rewards, access to members-only sales, high-quality bonus content, including Kombucha Clutch Hangs with me, the Kombucha Mama, and my special guests, a free digital brew journal to track your master brews and experiments, and more. Now here's the best part. It is only $7.99 a month. For $79.99 for the year, you get 2 months free with the annual membership. You can learn more and join our Bubbles with Benefits program at kombuchacamp.com/kombuchacamp+.html. Don't forget, that's camp with a K, because we're cute and clever over here. And don't forget, trust your gut.